Good morning, students. In the last session we have completed about the oogenesis. Now we will see in this session about the menstrual cycle. The reproductive cycle of the female primates is called the menstrual cycle. Now, who are included in this female primates, that is apes, human beings and monkeys, they are included in this primates. They have the cyclic reproductive changes, and such changes in the reproductive cycle is called the menstrual cycle. Menstruation is the term given to the periodic discharge of blood, tissue, fluid and mucus from the reproductive organs of sexually mature females. The flow usually lasts from 3 to 6 days each month, and it is caused by a sudden reduction in the hormones, that is estrogen and the progesterone. This menstrual cycle begins when a female reaches the age of puberty. The first menstruation begins at puberty age and the term is known as menarche. During the menstrual cycle, the uterus endometrium prepares itself for implantation of the fertilized egg. Means once the particular fusion occurs between the male gamete, that is the sperm, and the ovum, that is known as fertilized egg, and during this cycle it prepares for the implantation, means attachment of the fertilized egg. This cycle prepares for it. If fertilization does not occur, the uterus lining is shed from the body. Menstrual cycle repeated at an average interval of 28 days. One ovum is released in middle, usually 14th day of menstrual cycle. This cycle has following phases and it is divided into the 4 phases. First phase, that is known as the menstrual phase, which is a bleeding period. Second, follicular phase, that is before the egg or the ovum it is released. Third, ovulatory or the ovulation phase, here where the egg is released. And the luteal phase, after the release of the egg, that period is known as the luteal phase. Now here you can see in this the figure, that is this purple part is known as the menstrual or the bleeding period. Here the bleeding period lasts for the 3 to 5 days. Then from 6 to 10 days it is known as the follicular phase, that is before the egg is released. Then from 11 to the 18th day it is known as the ovulatory or the ovulation phase. And next the last phase, that is the luteal phase. After the luteal phase again the cycle is repeated. Now this graph shows the different hormone concentration, that is at which day the concentration of the hormone is having the particular, and it reaches to the peak level, that is LH and the FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone. You can see here that at the near about the 14th day the concentration of both this hormone increases. Then if the particular egg is fertilized, then the concentration of the progesterone is increases as compared to the estrogen. Now we will see all the particular phases one by one. First phase we have seen, that is the menstrual phase, which is also known as the bleeding period. It is the first phase of the menstrual cycle which lasts for the 3 to 5 days, as we have seen in that figure. Breakdown of endometrial lining and blood vessel occurs. It leads to the bleeding comes out through the vagina. Now students, please note, what is this endometrial lining? It is one of the layer of the uterus that surrounds the uterine lining, and it is made up of blood vessels. So if the breakdown of this blood vessel occurs, blood or you can say the bleeding comes out through the vagina, and that is nothing but the menstrual flow. It occurs only when ovum released and fertilization doesn't occur. Lack of menstruation is the indication of pregnancy. It is not every time that lack of menstruation is the indication of pregnancy. Sometimes due to the stress or the poor health of the particular female may also result to lack of menstrual cycle. Or in some females, irregular menstrual cycle is due to the much stress, lack of sleep and many other reasons. Second, follicular phase, which is also known as the proliferative phase. This phase lasts to about the particular 1 to 14 days, and the menstrual phase, it is followed by the follicular phase. Here what happens? Primary follicle grows and it is converted into the Graafian follicle, and endometrium degenerates, that is the proliferation occurs. Then the gonadotrophins, that is generally the FSH and the LH, increases and stimulate the follicular development, means the number of follicles and its development increases due to the increase in the hormone concentration, that is FSH and LH. This in turn increases the estrogen secretion from the growing follicles. LH and FSH attains peak in middle of cycle, that is at the 14th day. Rapid secretion of LH is known as LH surge, which induces Graafian follicle to rupture and release ovum, and this process is known as ovulation. Now, after this ovulation, corpus luteum is formed. Third phase, that is known as the luteal phase, it is also known as the secretory phase. This phase begins after the ovulation period. Ruptured Graafian follicle transformed into the corpus luteum. It produces large amount of progesterone. It means the corpus luteum produces the large amount of hormone, that is progesterone, which is essential to maintain and proliferate endometrium. Now, why this endometrium is necessary? It is necessary for implantation of the fertilized egg or the ovum and does not shed during the pregnancy. If fertilization occurs, corpus luteum grows further and pregnancy continues. Menstrual cycle stops at that time. In the absence of fertilization, Graafian follicle transformed to yellowish colored bodied corpus luteum. Progesterone level decreases, corpus luteum disintegrates to corpus albicans. Decrease in progesterone leads to the menstrual flow. Now this menstrual cycle generally it stops or ceases at 50 years, and that phase is known as menopause. Whenever the cyclic menstruation is there in the particular female, then it is indicative of the normal reproductive phase and it extends between the menarche and the menopause. So students, this was all about the menstrual cycle. I hope you are clear about all these phases.